Hey, what's going on? Saturday morning after Thanksgiving. It is time to vibe. Episode 7. I got up late, had a good night's sleep. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm here. Thankful to God to give us another day. So I'm ready to go. Messing up already on the screens. That's all right because I'm just now getting up. So, anyway, hope everybody had a great day. Yeah. So, what's going on, people? What's going on? Happy Saturday. Hope that you had a great happy holidays with your peoples or not peoples, with your food or not food. Always remember the people that don't have. I stayed here. I was off since Wednesday, so I've been here chilling. Uh, Yesterday, I watched the games. So, what did I do? Texas A&M game, good game. Texas did their thing. They should have won that game. They were clearly Texas A&M is. I'm not gonna say a fraud, but yeah, Texas A&M was not on the same level on that field, and you could see it. It was just like Sark. I don't know, man. He just like he I think he just wants to. He's like the mad scientist. He wants to call all these elaborate, slow developing plays. Just keep it simple. There's nothing that Texas A&M could do. Whenever he kept it simple, particularly from like the end of the second quarter through the game, Texas was clearly the better team. Marshall and then Texas A&M, basically they get you with formations, and if you have eye discipline, then they weren't really much of a threat, honestly, except for a couple incidences. Texas, yeah. In fact, it was 27-17. It could have been worse. I was watching it, so it could have been worse. And then watching the Utah game to see, I don't know about the college football playoff rankings. Like, why did they do that? There's no way that Utah, well, I can't say nowhere because anybody can win. They shouldn't be in the college football playoffs. They like, I think they just like, I don't know if it's a beauty pageant. It's like, well, we got to put these types of schools and this schools in. They can't beat these big schools. They're just not good enough. They don't have the athletes. And I don't know, man. I watched Utah play Kansas, and Kansas self-destructed. They were in the red zone. I think Daniels threw 3 or 4 interceptions within the 15-yard line, and they lost that game by one score. So one score, one score, maybe like 8 points, 9 points, and one of them was a 90-yard interception return for a touchdown. I mean, he just kept doing it. He just kept doing it. He just kept, and it was his last game of his collegiate career. So you feel sorry for him, and you feel sorry for Kansas. And it looks like that is indicative of their season. That things, I don't know, but yeah. So Utah, no, that should be no discussion. And then obviously, what was the other game? North Texas, UNT. They blew out some team. I didn't watch that game. They blew out some team. Iowa, I think they beat Nebraska. So yeah, I don't know. I, I, Today is Saturday, 11 o'clock today. So you want to know where I'll be at? I'll be right here in front of the TV watching the U. It's not the U. It's the U. University of Miami versus Pittsburgh. So we can go out there and do what we do. It's funny seeing some of the Miami content creators how they have this trepidation of Miami's clearly the better team. They say, oh, but it's going to be 30, 32 degrees, and Florida kids. I'm from Florida, and I grew up in New York. I loved playing football out in the snow. I remember one time, my best friend. So it was my best friend Maurice Boone. His nickname was Pig, and it was me, Maurice, Bra, and Norm. Those would be our little quartet, right? So we would play 2-on-2. So Maurice would and Norm, because Norm was Brian's big brother, and they would play, and then me and Bri would be on the same team, and we go out there and play, and oh my goodness, who was anemic? Maurice was anemic, and so you're anemic, you get cold and you can't. So we play like 40 minutes, we go inside and get warmed up, and we talk trash to each other, and yeah. So as a Florida kid, and then you know, I don't know if kids do this. It's, yeah, man, I swear, all the open ground that you have in Texas. I remember growing up and living in North Carolina, and I was in Florida. We play football. We'd be barefooted. We'd be out there playing, and then we go get this. They had these candy houses, and you'd have like 10 cents, and you go get a bag of oatmeal, like the same with oatmeal cream pies. You'd go get like a bag of that, and that would fill you up, and then you would look for cans. So you find like 12 cans on the street. You take them to the store, and then you get something to drink. So you had both. But growing up po. So yeah, we would do all of that growing up. So that's just funny because we were looking, and of course, this is a different day and age. I mean, you got all these different things that bombard your senses: cell phones, iPads. You see me with computers, all this stuff all the time. But we were out there barefooted with shorts and t-shirt on playing for the love of it. And we would look for any field. And I see so many fields here. And it's a shame, really, that kids aren't on their bikes, aren't exploring. Of course, we live in a different day and age. But we, as kids, us on our bikes, riding from where we lived in one part of Hempstead, let's like Dallas Fort Worth. So if we're riding from North Fort Worth to say Gateway Park or Haltom City, that was nothing for us. Nothing. We would get on our bikes, and if sometimes we wouldn't have, if we didn't have our bikes, or if somebody didn't have a bike, if they had a flat and we couldn't fix his flat, we would literally walk from here to like Haltom City just to go play football against another block. Somebody we went to school with, we'd be like on a Saturday, say, "What's going on?" And he was like, "Yo, y'all gonna play or not? Y'all checking, y'all cowards?" And he was like, "Nah, we playing. We playing. Rain, sleet, or shine." We get up in the morning and call each other on the phone, because back then you had to call. And be like, "Yo, what's up? Yo, I'm ready. All right, I'm coming to your house." And you run down your house. Then you go to somebody else's house, or we meet at somebody's house. And then we have our little football, our Nerf football, or our beat up leather football. And we walk all the way across town just to play another group. And then sometimes when we got there and played that group, it'd be other kids that were there too, like, "Yo, we want to play too." And then it'd be like two neighborhoods against two other neighborhoods, and we would play that like for hours on end. And then we would walk all the way back home. Or sometimes we'd have our 10 speeds, our Schwinn's. In my case, I had an Apollo 3 speed. So I remember my bike got stolen so many times. My mom was mad at me, man. I was dumb. Dumb. My bike got stolen so many times. My mom, a new bike, my bike would get stolen. I had my Savoy. Oh, my mom almost killed me when my Savoy got stolen. Oh, she was so pissed at me. She's like, "I can't believe you. You always get your bike." But that was a thing back then. That was a mischievous things for kids to do, to steal bikes. Like if you went to the store and you left your bike outside and you came back out, if you didn't chain it up, depending, not all the time, but people still stole bikes. That was something that kids did back then. So anyway, yeah, to see that now you have all this opportunity in all these fields. I mean, we're 8 minutes in, and to see that kids don't take advantage of it. Even here, as a kid in my neighborhood, I see him playing baseball outside in the front yard, but he's literally playing in front of his house. And I can tell you right now, there's a huge field across the street down the street. There's a school around the corner with a huge field in the back. We would have been back there playing two-hand touch and tackle as much as, I mean, all the neighborhood kids we go there. So it was me, Brian, Andre, Steve. Steve was super really fast. You ever play some sports with somebody you don't want to guard because it's like they're annoying? It's like I was better. At least I thought in my mind, right, that I'm better than him. Andre was, oh my God, his jukes and shiftiness, that was a pain in the butt to try to guard him playing football. And then Daryl was just like, he was like Tony Dorsett. He'd run like Tony Dorsett because he wanted to be him. But anyway, the point being, so Steve was really, really fast. Like we would race, all four of us, just to see who was the fastest. Steve won his fair share. Andre won his fair share. I think I won a couple. Daryl didn't win too. No, maybe I think in fact, to be honest, I think that we all won our fair share. We never really knew who was the fastest person because we all would play. We'd play baseball with a tennis ball and a stick. And then where we were located at, so Hempstead and Garden City met right by Ralston Street. And so there was a fence. Like think about living in Keller and then living in Haltom being right next to each other. So there was a fence that divided the two cities or two towns. And where we played in our street, because it was like a little Huey, and sometimes we call it out if you hit it over the fence, because now we got to climb the fence and go into the rich people's backyard. We didn't want to get chased by the dogs or anything like that. So yeah, but then the great thing about it, kids are kids, right? Then we would ride our bikes into the rich people's neighborhood, which was Garden City. I mean, Garden City was super nice. And then we play them in basketball. We play football. I think we played them in football maybe once or twice, but mostly it was basketball or just riding through the neighborhood, seeing these big houses and seeing these kids outside playing and stuff like that. So that was all part of growing up. I don't know if what your growing up, your period of adolescence was like, but that was ours, especially on Saturday mornings. Like today, it's 53 degrees right now. In we would shoot, we'd be almost out the door right now because we'd have got up, watched our cartoons or watched particularly like sports highlights or whatever the case would be, and then we would head out. I go knock on Andre or Daryl's door, or we'd just see each other in our slippers and be like, "Yo, you gonna play today?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, a little time." And then we'd head on out. We'd get $1 from our moms, and head on out, get our bikes. Uh, yeah, yeah, or our baseball, or we had we get from like St. Vincent de Paul, which is like a store for poor people. Like people would donate stuff. We go there and get we have gloves or our little cheap cleats, and then we would head on out, man. And I'm not saying those were the good days, but just giving you an idea or concept of what it is like growing up in Hempstead and that area of Hempstead, and then how close it was to seeing like the houses in Garden City was like super. Like man, they were nice. They're nice. We were living in our apartment right on the other side of the fence. Isn't that amazing? That on one side of the fence this can be your reality, and another side of the fence that can be your reality. But that is life, man. That is life. It doesn't make it good or bad, but you make do. But it's still a shame to see in this day and age. I know there's a lot of kids in my neighborhood, but they don't come outside. They don't come outside. Their walk to school, because I drive past it every day. You have crossing guards, and we had crossing guards, so to speak. But to see the kids are walk to school, most of the kids ride the school bus. Man, I would tell you, I live here in Fort Worth, so we walk to school every morning, 45 minutes, rain, sleet, shine, or snow. And the concept here, where if the weather got too cold and it was icy and it was snowing and things shut down, nah, 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 nah. And we always make this joke. All the kids, and particularly me, we be walking home. I had walked from Hempstead High School, walked past the middle school, then pick up my sister from her school, then pick up my other sister from her school. And kids, this is what kids do. You go get your sisters or siblings if you could, or your sisters walk home. But we always laugh because my mom had a car. I remember she had this 1967 Mustang, this candy apple red car. But the point being is that when you see them, our moms would you see parents riding past their kids going home, and you be riding, walking, and talking to your friend. And be like, "Yo, that was your mom?" It's like, "Yeah," and it'd be like, "It's pouring rain," but they would not stop. It could be snowing outside. It could be 15 degrees. You'd be wrapped up talking to your friend, going home with your book bag, whatever the case may be. It's like, yo, there's your mom. It's like, yeah, I know. And but they would not stop. And we always laughed about that because today you see parents, they're coddling. I wouldn't say coddling, but they drive the kids to school. They pick their kids up. You see them walking to school, holding their kids' hands. Oh, there was not holding our hands going. And she was like, y'all know where I need to be at 7:45 because at 7:45 was homeroom. You know what you need to be. So you need to be out this house at 7. And even if you left your house at 7:20, we knew back cuts. There was the scenic route, the regular route to school, and then there was all the shortcuts in case you were late. And sometimes you would run almost all the way from your house, in my case, and you'd be running and you see other kids running. And then you couldn't stop and get the butter roll, which everybody wanted to do in the morning. To have a butter roll and a 25-cent juice was like, you were the ish. And homeroom, you were the ish because you could sit there with your butter roll, listening to the teacher, and passing gum, drinking juice. Yeah, and then of course you go to Pizza Plus to get your pizza, which is back then, oh man, $1 for Pizza Plus. Shoot, the pizza slices were like this big at Pizza Plus, and then you had a quarter to play Pac-Man or Galaga or something like that, or Donkey Kong, whatever the case would be. So yeah, that was. It's just a shame to see that kids don't. I'm not saying that they're missing out, but the activity, being able to explore the world. For instance, I lived in Long Island, and going to the city, which was meant taking a train or a bus, taking a train, the Long Island Railroad, taking the N, I think it was the M or the L. Anyway, taking that into Jamaica, staying on the train. Do not get off the train. Do not get off the train in Jamaica. You have to tell people, they're like, yo, no, don't get off, stay on. And then you would go through the tunnels and get out and 34th Street. And then from 34th Street, you could go anywhere. That's Central Station. So walk around downtown and 42nd Street. I'll go and see some people that were like my cousins uptown and get on the L train or the A train and go uptown, or the B train, C train, go into Brooklyn, D train, going to Brooklyn, or, go in the Bronx, take the 1, 2, 3, or whatever the case would be. So, and you're doing this as what we call little teens, 12, 13, 14. You say, I'm going to see my aunt today, and you just go. You go. As long as you had, the bus was, 75 cents to $1. And then back then we had transfers. So if I got on this bus, I would ask the driver to give me a transfer. So now whatever bus I had to take in addition to this, you give the next bus driver that transfer, and you don't pay two fares. So we do that. Same. And then, of course, the subway is, as long as you don't go upstairs outside of the subway, you can just transfer trains all day long. But to see that the fact that we were doing that and not worrying about the consequences, and our parents, no, you had a quarter, so every now and then you call home. It's like, where you at? I'm over here, and so forth. We went over to the park, or whatever the case may be. We went downtown. We're hanging out. As long as you had a couple dollars in your pocket. But when you're a kid, the funny thing is that you didn't really get hungry like that. And if you had family or cousins and stuff in all the different places, when you got hungry, you just go to their house. You pull up. Auntie, what's going on? Hey, so forth and so on. Where y'all been? Oh, we was hanging out downtown. And then we went over to the pool, so forth and so on. And then suddenly, and then they automatically know, y'all hungry? Yeah. And then you get a sandwich or something to drink. And then you would do that. So, then you would hightail it back home. I remember one time, I'm not going to tell them myself, but I actually walked from Jamaica, Queens, back to Hempstead, Long Island one time. I mean, it took all morning, right? It took a couple hours, but I walked right along the Long Island. No, I walked along the Southern State at that time. I walked along the Southern State. But to see that kids don't explore these things. Now, they do, but they're being driven everywhere. And I think that, it gives you a greater sense of responsibility. And of course, we always make the joke that, unfortunately, seeing kids being abducted and stuff like that, that was not going to happen in our little play group. No, no. I wish somebody would have jumped out trying to grab one of us. Oh, that would have been a bad day for that person, because we were in back. We were not doing mischievous things like doing violence or anything, but call yourself coming up to one of the little baby's kids. Woo! You'd have wished that you wouldn't. You'd have got hit with all types of rocks and sticks. We'd have calling for help, all types of stuff. You wouldn't have drove any one of us away. No, that was a no-go. But, growing up in a city is a little bit different than growing up in the suburbs. But still, and growing up in New York City is a whole different animal. As many people, when they talk to me, I was like, where you from? And then they were like, oh yeah, you sound like from New York. Like, I don't have that, yo, what's up? I don't have that in my speech patterns. I have kind of evolved in a sense that, of course, college changed you. You get a more your vernacular changes. But of course, I also grew up in Long Island, in contrast to growing up in the five boroughs. So that your speech pattern and your idiosyncrasies is a little bit different because you live in a different part of New York. So I don't have that. But at the same time, I'm a bona fide New Yorker. I'm a bona fide New Yorker. So when people say, "Oh, but you don't sound," it's like, yeah, I know. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. So they say, but to see, and then life happens, right? And so you become a product of your environment and your experiences, because that's what life is. So to see people and they're just like, yo, I went to New York and so forth. I was like, yeah, there's a huge difference. Just like me before I came to Texas, there's a huge difference from coming to Texas and staying a day or two or a week, even a month, than living in New York. It's a huge difference than living in New York. As they say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. There's some truth to that, because the individuality of a lot of New Yorkers, I'm not gonna say every, the individuality and the heartbeat of being a New Yorker. It doesn't even matter what party from, but growing up, I'm basically like the sixth borough living in Long Island. Growing up, there's a heartbeat of like, individualism that kids are raised with. Like, we ain't got nobody else. We ain't got, as they say, all we got is each other, man. All we got is each other. And I was talking to someone in here last week about the concept. And in fact, that gives me a great springboard. But before we do that, let's check out the weather, and then I'll get into that. Let's see if we could do this. Let's see if we could do this, Brutus. I'm not new to this, so we're gonna take the vibe down, and I'm looking for the weather here on my thing. I know I have it. Mm. Where is it? Uh, Shoot. What's that one? Yeah, tell me. Oh, here it is. All right. So right now it's 53 degrees. That's what it says feels like. It's gonna scattered chances of rain. It's not raining here in Fort Worth right now. Temperature high is going to be 69 degrees at 3 p.m. Uh, so forecast is looking that. Then Sunday, it's supposed to be a little chillier. Lows at 33, 44, 40, 42. Monday, 48. Then the temperature rises back again all the way into next weekend. So you get 60, 56, 59, 61, 65, 59. So the weather's looking really good for the rest of the week. Yeah, and that's the weather. So getting back to our little thing. So we were talking about this, and that gives you a great springboard about the differences. So I was talking to someone I know, and generally because I live alone, right? And when people come to your house, it's always interesting to see how they react, right? I don't react much to anything. I guess we all do. We don't even know it. But when, particularly women, when they come to my house, and we were talking about this, she's like, "Well, who cooks?" And I was like, "I cook." It's like I live here by myself. How am I? I mean, somebody has to eat. And so we make dinner and hung out and we're chatting, talking. He's like, "You can cook." I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna say that I'm a chef, and I'm not gonna say I can cook on the level of like, growing up in a Latino house. Like some guys can really cook, or whatever the case in comparison to others, but." I'm not starving. I know how to, put some seasoning on my food if I want seasoning. I'm generally a bland person, but I know how to put some salt, some garlic, some sazon, some paprika. I can bake some chicken because you can Google, put it on 375 for 25 minutes, whatever the case would be. You can Google that, or frying chicken. I'll admit that I don't fry a lot of chicken. I I messed up in trying to do the air fried chicken, but I can fry it. I can fry it. Put some 4C on that bad boy. Put some flour on it. Sprinkle in your seasoning. Dap that boy in the popper and drop it in some oil, right? So it can fry. I can make some arepas that are pre-made and fry them, whatever the case would be. Like you have to cook to survive. And then, of course, you have to clean up after yourself. Like, you can wash dishes too? Well, who's going to wash them? Nobody's here. So we were just talking, like, the difference between, because she was saying, guys down here and this and that. And I was like, well, at around the age of 14 or 15, growing up in New York in my period, most guys were trying to get out the house as fast as they could. We were trying to get away. And whether that be your room, your apartment, a roomie, whatever the case may be. And I was telling her, I moved out of my house and I moved around the corner. And my mom would still come home. She like, look at your house. He was like, it ain't much. It ain't nothing. And he's like, so this is what you, your mom talks bad to you. Like, your house be busted, your room be busted, your apartment be busted, but you out, you paying your own rent. Nobody can tell you what to do, and you still go home to eat. I still would go home, like mom, and like eat at my mom's, check in, whatever the case it be. But the point being is that guys are dying to have their own apartment, own car, own bank account. We are literally like, nobody can tell us. We're like, if high school could end at 16 or 15 in New York boys, we'd be out the house. Growing up during my period, we were out for sure. We didn't want no part of being in the house. No part of that. We wanted our own. And we were talking about this in relation because so many women, take care of men or date men that, don't have that same urge. Whether can she be like 35? It's like, yeah, he's got a roommate. It's like, nah, that's a no growing up. We didn't, we didn't want roommates. No guy wants a roommate growing up in New York. We didn't want roommates, and no, we wanted our own place because if we had a girlfriend or or somebody, a friend, even friends, you want them to come to your place, your place, and that was like a thing. Like I may not have it all, but I'm making it. You know what I mean? I'm trying. Whereas here to see, we're just talking about the contrast. I'm not gonna shame anybody, but there's a huge difference growing up during my period of the desire to be independent, in contrast to some of the things that I see and some of the things that I hear uh, people that I know, particularly of the female persuasion, complain about, which is a segue into what I'm actually wanting to talk about right now. So I always, I'm curious as a person that lives by himself. Oh wow, we're in. So let me see if I can get this on the screen. If I got the right thing. All right. So I'm gonna put this up now. Yeah. Let me do it this way. All right. So I'm curious because I'm looking at this chart, this thing here, and it's talking about. I asked, when people come in your house, it's like, what is, particularly for women, what's the first thing that they notice? And I know from my own experience, and I don't want to tell my life, but when people come in, it's like, you live here by yourself. And I was like, yes. And it's like it really is peaking because you can see that, when the wheels are turning in somebody's mind and you're like, but in my mind, I'm like, I really don't. I understand the question because I can understand um, the use of the English vernacular. I understand words and prepositions. I understand. I can signify. I understand what things are signifying and the expressed desire to communicate. I can decode the information. That's not the question. The question is, to me, I'm like, that's a weird question. Like, do I live here alone? Even though you know that I live here alone, still, when you walk across the threshold of the door, it's like, you live here by yourself? It's like, yeah, I live here by myself. Like, oh, okay, all right. Well, you had somebody living here before? It's like, no, nobody has ever lived in my house with me in Texas. No one. I've always lived in Texas in this state by myself. It's like, oh, so who put this together? It's like, I did. Oh, okay. Okay. This is what you get. Okay. It's just like you get like the wheels are still churning. Like there had to be somebody that helped you. It's like again, there's a difference from the expectation growing up, where I grew up and how things develop. Like female friends can help you. You could ask people advice like, yo, what do you think of this? And I did hear the curtains. I asked somebody, how to do this, because you're a guy, you don't know some of the skills, right? You don't have some of the home making skills, but you do know the things that you need. You need pots, you need pans, you need dishwashing liquid, you need soap, you need laundry detergent, you need towels to wash your behind, you need sheets for your bed. You as a guy, you know that you need these things, but if you're not put into a position where you have to think for yourself, then yeah, possibly, there could be some lapses and there could be some gaps in your home decor. But if you know these things, and then you've got a little experience, because I do have a little experience because I've lived by myself, have my apartment, have my house, live my second house, and so you get better as you go along. But I would say this: I will never be as good as what a female can do, never, and I know that. Females can decorate; they just have a flair for it, and that's all right. God gave them that. Jealousy on my part. But the point, getting back, is like when people walk in your house, what do they see? And then females, they're always just in my case. I don't know about other cases. In my case, they're always picturing or fixing. Like that should be over there. Oh, you should put this up on the wall. Or you should move this over here. Or this. It's interesting. So the point being is that I googled this because I was curious. It says the first things women is likely to notice in your house are the scent, general tidiness, lack of clutter, and the decor. And I get good grades for that. Now I don't have the scent thing down because I don't have a scent game at all. I'm gonna be honest. There's sometimes as a guy, because we're guys, that we don't. I'm gonna say this guy, even though people may think I'm not a perfectionist and I don't necessarily. I'm not say not care, but I don't get involved into like all the scents and having the house smelling and so forth. I need to up my game in that 100%. I know it. I know I'm lacking in that. Please give me patience. God is not finished with me yet. All right. The second part is the general tidiness. Now I get good grades for that, except for one room, and there is a room where I put my I put all my laundry in that room, and sometimes I fold it up, and sometimes it just be living in there. I'm not gonna lie, if it living, and I'm probably not the only guy that does it, and I know the girls do it too. So, and then the lack of clutter, generally, because the first room that you see when you come in my house is like this little office area, which was a living room, but I turned the office area because I live with myself. Then you have other rooms in my house. But the point being is that if things are put and they're set neatly, then you get points for lack of clutter, right? And then they're talking about the decor, and that's what I was saying. I'm like, the table in the right space, the vase in the right space, the desk in the right space. How's the room look like? Are the pictures on the wall in the right space? In the kitchen, are the dishes in just hanging out in the sink or whatever the case would be. So when it comes to that, I get credit for that. Generally I get good credit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not boasting, but I get good credit and get good comments about coming into the house. Now, I would say that my house is busted from the point of a female's perspective. I think it's okay, but remember, it's a guy that's decorating it. And I'm very curious, other women, to know what is the first thing that women notice when they go into a guy's house. How do it make them feel? What is the ambiance like? Like, is it the refrigerator? Do you notice that there's something? Are the glasses clean? If you want to drink a water, you should always be hospitable. Now, there's something that I notice myself, and I'm going to take this down from the screen now. So there's something that I noticed myself too, and the hospitable aspect of New York. Like growing up, if my mom had company or something like that, or somebody came to the house, you naturally knew to present yourself. When we say present yourself, that means like, hi, I'm Curtis. I'm my mom's son. And she said, this is my son Curtis, and this is my daughter Wendy, and this is my other daughter Wendy. And you present yourself. You spend a few minutes there, bored, ready to get back to what you did, and then you eventually go back to your room or go back to doing whatever you want to do. The one thing that I did notice about some of the people that I've met here in Texas, and this is not to condemn anybody, this is not throwing shade or anything, but the present stuff, like you could be somebody and go to their house, they don't invite you in. All right, they just come, get their stuff, run out the door, and be like, let's go. That's a no-no where we grew up. Not necessarily a no-no, but it was an expectation. Like, if you invite me to pick up your house, then at least invite me in. Let me use the bathroom, or just to meet your family, whatever the case may be, say hello. That isn't something that I do notice about down here. But maybe it's just particular people that I know, that I'm familiar with. The other thing is that presenting yourself. So if I'm with somebody and I go to their house and they have kids, teenagers, whatever the case may be, or less, and the kids are outside, but they don't say anything to you, that's a little awkward, because you're there like to see somebody, whether it's acquaintance or friend, or the brothers or the parents, or their other friends, just kind of be like, and you could stay there and like, it's awkward. It's awkward. It's cold. It's kind of rude. And be honest, it is rude. Like to say, hey, what's going on? How what's your name? Oh, I'm Amanda. Oh, I'm Curtis. So forth and so on. Oh, really? How do you guys know each other? Small talk. Not that small talk means anything, but at least it's being hospitable instead of being cold. But down here, there's a lot of that. You could be around people, and I can tell you that in the biker community. If I went to a ride with some friends and somebody I knew the person that was 5 feet next to me, that person come over and talk to them, right? And won't even say anything to you. Now, where I grew up, that would be like, not that it means anything, but it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. I guess this is how we're rolling. So that's why I always get a kick out when people say New Yorkers are rude. And nah, we're the first persons to be like, yo, what's going on? Oh, what's up? Oh, all right, okay. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, it's nice to meet you. And whether we have a good first impression about them or not, but the point is that at least we made the effort to be like, hi, how you doing? You know what I mean? So, how you doing? If you say in Brooklyn, how you doing? What's up? We like, one of the all right, so introduction words would be like, what's good? What's really good? What's up? How you doing? Okay, I see you. These are things that, like, conversation breakers that we do. I see you. Okay, what's up? All right, dap. you always dap somebody whether you know them or not. It could be like five strangers walking to you and be like, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, it's good. And even still, then you could fall back and let your friend do whatever the case is. But you at least initiated, let everybody, it's all good. There's no hostility here. There's no animosity here. There's some animosity down here. I'm just tell you right now, some animosity. All right, so anyway, if you listen to this and you get something out of that, and you're a female, what is it? What are the things that you look at when you go into a single guy's house, particularly a single guy's house? Particularly, like if you're going in, what are the things that you notice? Is it truly the decor, the atmosphere, the bathroom? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then there's this thing right here. It says 20 things every guest will notice in your house. The smell. You might not think your house has a smell, but it's the first thing visitors will notice, good or bad. Yeah. So I find this fascinating. I do. The shoes, the entryway. In my case, I don't have the welcome mat. I got a welcome mat. I do. A clean floor. I don't really have to worry about that because the way floors are situated here. The simple touches, like, the smell, the signature scent. Now, I did compliment somebody I know. The smell of her house is good. I wish my house smelled like that all the time. But then again, sometimes it's not good to be breathing in all those scents. The freshness, the clutter, if your house is organized, the laundry, keeping mingled areas, the bathroom. My guest bathroom doesn't, I don't really have to do much of it because my sister made that up, and so I don't really use it that much. Shiny glass, toilet paper, always got toilet paper. The smell again. I don't have pets. I don't have pet toys. I don't have food area. So, yeah. But yeah, I'd be really interested to find out what women think about that, and what do women think about or notice when they first come to your house. So with that being, we did the news, we did a little of that. Let's get into, before we get out of here, let's see what's going on in DFW today. Let's check it out. Woo! All right, so in case you have never seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer musical, so that's today. Those tickets are kind of pricey. I'm going to be honest about that. $47. Yes, I don't know. That's in Lancaster. The Stockyards Road Championship Rodeo. Now, I've been down there, but I've never been to the rodeo, but I've heard it's really good. So that's down at the Cowtown Coliseum. The Nutcracker. Now, incidentally, when you go downtown, because I noticed last year, the lights by the Stockyard, chimba, que chimba, me gusta los luces en las calles. Oh, my good. So, yeah, so you would check those out. TCU's playing Cincinnati at the Emma Carter Stadium. I don't like that name. They need to change that. And then, of course, there's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at 5 o'clock. And that's another thing that when people ask about it from New York. It's like, oh, I know you're from New York. Why? It's because you talk so fast. It's like we have English Spanish. There's Spanish, and then there's English Spanish. Like, yo, what's going on? You're going to go out tonight? No, what? So it's like we talk really fast. we do. And I didn't realize how I'm an anxious person, but I find myself, if I'm like cooking something, I don't have all the ingredients, like trying to get the salt and pepper. So then I was like, yo, you are a fidgety or anxious person. I just realized that lately. And I was like, oh, wow, that explains a lot of things through life. So, all right, then there's Stony LaRue. I don't know what that is. And then more Rudolph the Reindeer. That's yet tomorrow. So those are things that are going on right here in Fort Worth. I don't know what's going on. In Dallas, they probably got a few things. So, yeah, I had a good talk. I can't believe I talk that much, but I talk a lot. Anyway, so, yeah. All right, that's all I got. You guys have a great, happy Saturday. Like I said, I'm going to watch the Miami game. I need to clean up in here. I'm probably going to make some breakfast, maybe some eggs. That's another thing that I think, too. If you like spending money on breakfast, like you're doing McDonald's, you're doing Dutch Bros, which I thought was was not a coffee store, no Tom Thumb. I thought those was like do-it-yourself, fix-it stores, maintenance man stores. But I know now. So if you're spending $5 a day, in this case, it's really about $7 or $8 because if you get like a sandwich and something to drink, it's gonna be like $7 or $8 a day. Or do you want to get up in the morning and take 2 minutes and fry you an egg with a croissant and throw some cheese on it, maybe a couple slices of bacon, and then pour you a glass of whatever your drink is. It could be water, it could be orange juice, it could be juice, it could be milk with some Yoo-hoo in it, whatever the case would be, and then take that to work and your Yeti or whatever the case would be, is that cheaper in the long run than going out and spending $10 a day? And I would say that it actually is. It actually is. I come home for lunch every day because I live close enough. But yeah, and so I need to do that more, right? Instead of, because you're spending $50 in addition to your groceries, in addition to maybe going out during the week. So that can be like $100 a week, right? Instead of just like getting up and getting 18 eggs, large grade eggs, and you got the cheese, and now you got enough to eat for going to work for like, I don't know, 2 weeks, where you would spend $200 because you spend $10 a day, or $100, where it really would, you would have been spending like $10 because you got the eggs, you got your bread, cheese, and some bacon. So maybe you spend like $15. Just throwing it out there. So anyway, that's all I got. This is The Vibe. You guys be good, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.